Hello, I'm Ray. Welcome to another podcast episode. 12 degrees centigrade, which is 53 Fahrenheit, quite early in the morning, 97% humidity, 1013 millibars, and the wind is, well, as usual, a little bit of a breeze from the west. The weather has just been atrocious. We've had rain, then sunshine. You just don't know what to wear. It's just impossible to decide what to wear. You go out in a shirt and shorts or something because the sun's out, and then it pours with rain on you. Just had a notice. It was this Team GB, because it's the Olympics, isn't it, win their first medal. Oh, so that's good. I'm not sure what they won the medal for, but I'll have a look at that later. So yes, the weather has just been absolutely weird. It's not a typical British summer at all, because a typical British summer is rain all the time. No, it's not really. It's not really. Okay, let's get started. I've just heard on the news that ice creams, well, they call them popular ice creams, have gone up by 38% over the last 2 years. Do you remember the 99? Was it a Mivvy or something? The 99, it was 99 pence. And now I believe they're £2, was it £2.75 each we paid for the equivalent today of the 99? £2.75 each. Everything is going up. This is the trouble. Milk, sugar, chocolate has gone up because of is there a cocoa shortage or something where they grow the chocolate? They come from beans, don't they? Everything is going up, isn't it? It really is getting totally out of hand. Email from Jacqueline. Hello, Jacqueline. You're up north somewhere. I always say up north somewhere because I can't remember. Boston. Was it Boston up there? No, Bolton. Let's get it right. Bolton. Anyway, that's all beside the point. Jacqueline says, do you remember Sundays? So obviously, I was going to say old, Jacqueline. It mustn't be rude. You're not old, are you? Do you remember Sundays when all the shops were closed? Everything was closed. I do. Sunday was the Sabbath, wasn't it? Well, it still is, but people didn't work. Obviously, vital services, people that generate electricity and the gas supply, that sort of thing, buses and some trains were running. You can't shut everything down, obviously. The lights would go out. But I do remember that. And I do remember the government or whoever at the time were talking about relaxing some of the laws because it was daft. I do remember one thing. You could buy a razor blade on a Sunday if it was for shaving, but you couldn't buy it if you were using it for something else. I don't know what, scraping paint off the window or something. It was all silly. And do you remember, that's just reminded me, when VAT first came into Britain, because we had purchase tax, didn't we, before that, surcharge, wasn't it, or something, and VAT came in. Now, if you had a bunny rabbit, as we used to have, bless their cotton socks, furry socks, you would buy hay from the pet shop for your bunny. If it was for the bunny to sleep on, there was no VAT on it. If it was for the bunny to eat, there was VAT, 17% or whatever it was. So, of course, everyone's going into the shop. Is it for your rabbit to sleep on or to eat? Oh, it is sleeping on it. Oh, OK, no VAT then. How balmy is that? And wasn't there something about sandwiches? If you buy a sandwich in a shop, there was no VAT. If it's toasted, if the chap chucks it in the toaster for a few minutes, so you've got a toasted cheese and tomato sandwich. Oh, I do like that. Who likes toasted cheese sandwiches? Oh, anyway, I digress. There was VAT on it. Why? Because it was classed, I believe, don't quote me on this, as a cooked meal. Who dreamed, this idiot behind desk, who dreams up this nonsense? You can imagine, can't you, some idiot behind a desk on kind of £100,000 a year. Oh, I know what we do. If it's toasted, we'll call it a meal because it's hot. So we'll put VAT on it. Never heard so much rubbish in all my life. But Sundays, though, Jacqueline, yes, I do remember that. Driving on a Sunday. There were people known as Sunday drivers. They only came out on a Sunday, retired people. They didn't dare go out in the week because there were other cars on the road. So they'd go out on a Sunday when there was very, very little traffic. And they were known as Sunday drivers because they did everything wrong. They were too slow. They didn't know what they were doing. Do you know, I stabbed my hand just now with a screwdriver. I've just finished painting the kitchen. One little bit to do tomorrow, one little bit of gloss. I've just done some undercoat. And I was opening the tin of paint and I stabbed my hand It's stopped bleeding now, so that'll be all right. I hope I don't get tetanus. Anyway, the kitchen's just about finished, thank goodness. Oh, and thanks also, coincidence, was it John sent me a video link about Sunday closing in the past? Was that John? I can't remember now. Or was it you, Jacqueline? I don't know. I haven't got a clue. But yes, Sunday driving was lovely. The roads were just empty. It was, I can't describe it. Back in the 60s and 70s, it was amazing to pop out on a Sunday. You could get to places. There were no gridlocks and all this nonsense we have these days. But of course now it's all changed for good. It won't get better, it'll just get worse. Rob down there in Melbourne, Australia, down under, do you call us up over? I've asked people before, I haven't had an answer. Rob, do you call us up here, up over, like we call you down under in Australia? Let me know that one. What did you say, Rob? Oh, yes, when I visit my old village this coming, well, it won't be Sunday, it'll be before Sunday, for Sunday's episode. I'm going to visit my old village where I lived. I left there, when did I leave there? We left there must be about 40 years ago or more. And I'm going to go back there. I've driven through it a few times, of course, on my journeys here and there. But I'm actually going to go back there, park the car and have a walk around to see what, if anything, has changed over the 40-odd years since I lived there. And yes, Rob, I will take the recorder. I'm not just going to talk about it here. I'm going to take the little recorder and do an outside time broadcast that I know many of you like. I know one or two of you don't like it because you've emailed me and told me you don't like it. Here we go again. It's the majority. The majority seem to like the quick chat about, I don't know, going into a church or going to Butlins, Bognor on the seafront. And hopefully you'll like the chat about the village. When I get out there, I've obviously got to do it before Sunday, but I was thinking of going today and it's raining. It's raining yet again. Do you know, we have had rain, I think, every day. It rained all last night. It's raining now. It's forecast all day. I don't know. This sort of joke about the typical British summer is no longer a joke. It's a pain. Oh, thank you to several of you who said that the little furry thing on my microphone is known as a dead cat. I don't like that much, do you? A dead cat. It's a windshield or a muffler. I've never heard it called a dead cat before. I suppose on the larger microphones they do, you see on the telly, don't they, people outside doing the news or something. It does look rather like a dead cat. I don't like that expression. I'm going to call it my muffler or just my furry thing, that'll do. If you'd like to contact me, raise rants at protonmail.com. Or if you want to have a look at the website, raiserants.info. There are a few pictures there for you to look at, and I think one or two other bits and pieces of interest, which of course I will be adding to with the passing of time. Going back to Sundays in the old days, a lot of people went to church. They put on their Sunday best. They would dress up, Sunday suit, Sunday dress or frock, as it was called, and a hat, of course, for the ladies. The chaps would wear a bowler type hat or a flat cap, depending on where you were. Up north it was flat caps, wasn't it? And people would go off to church. Then Sunday lunch, and of course Sunday lunchtime in the pub. Now the pub then opened between 12 midday and 2 o'clock, and that was it, 2 hours. And it was a tradition in most families, well, I don't know about most, well, say most families. The dad would go off to the pub, have a pint or two from between 12 and 2, then come back, and his Sunday lunch would be ready, his Sunday dinner would be on the table. And I remember a friend of mine, he did this and he was always late back. And one Sunday afternoon, it was just approaching 2 o'clock, we were finishing up in the pub. We just had a chat. As I say, it was tradition, a chat and a couple of beers. His wife walked into the pub with his dinner on a plate in her hand, and she tipped it on his head. His dinner. She said, "There's your dinner. I've had enough of this. You're late every Sunday. It goes cold." So there it is. And she walked out. They split up over that. You might think, oh, it's a trivial thing. But if it goes on and on, week in, week out, every Sunday, he's late back. What does she do? She's gone to all that effort to cook the dinner, and he doesn't turn up until late. Of course, we all thought that was hilarious. It wasn't really. I felt sorry for her. It was only afterwards when we all stopped laughing. I felt sorry for her. I think one or two of the other chaps did as well. A lot of work goes into cooking the Sunday dinner, doesn't it? The roast, the potatoes, the vegetables, all that stuff. Just the lady doing it on her own. And then her husband turns up late when it's all gone cold. Of course, I was never late. Obviously, I was good. Happy days. Then Sunday afternoon, after you've had your dinner, there was Bonanza on the telly. Do you remember that? Dun, 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 dun. Do you remember Bonanza? That was great. The burning map on the screen, wasn't it? It was Hoss, wasn't it? Ben Cartwright and all that. That was Sunday afternoon, I think about 3 o'clock. So that was just right after dinner. Then the dad of the house, he'd had his dinner, he'd had a couple of beers, so he'd go to sleep in the armchair in the lounge. And that was him snoring for an hour or two. Kids would all play on the lounge floor. They'd be watching Bonanza. What else was on a Sunday afternoon? It's a long time ago. The 60s, the 70s. I don't know what we did on a Sunday afternoon. Oh, I know what I would have done. In my teens, anyway. I'd be out in my shed doing pirate radio things illegal. Excellent. Everyone looked forward to the weekend back then with the sort of traditions, the habitual things, as I say, Sunday lunch at the pub, back for dinner, Bonanza on the telly. In the evenings, what was it? Sing Something Simple on the radio, which I hated. In the school days, I hated it because it meant school tomorrow. As soon as I heard Sing Something Simple, that was it. It meant the weekend was over. It was Sunday evening, Monday's coming, and there's school. Oh, don't. But people did look forward to the weekends. A lot of people had to work on a Saturday, of course, because shops were open. But Sunday, the majority of people were at home. And of course, I've said this before, they all had to wash their cars and mow their lawns, Saturday and Sunday. Those that were off Saturday and those that weren't did all this on a Sunday. You'd see all the men of the street out the front of the house, washing the car, cleaning it all, cleaning inside, every Sunday. Sunday was a special day, and also family would visit each other. You know, you'd all go round mum and dad's on a Sunday if you'd left home and you're married, got your own kids. You'd take them to mum and dad's on a Sunday and perhaps stay for Sunday tea. Oh, of course, in the afternoon, who remembers this? Was it, say, 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon? Mum would wheel in the tea trolley. Do you remember the old trolleys? And on there would be cakes and sandwiches she'd prepared, perhaps jelly and ice cream, a teapot with the little milk jug and the little sugar bowl and the cups and saucers, not sort of tea bags and mugs like we have now. It's all common now, isn't it? A proper teapot with a tea strainer, you know, real tea. Not, well, obviously real tea is in the bags, but all done properly. Proper English tea. Cucumber sandwiches on the terrace, what? The butter in a butter dish, jam in a little jam dish with a little spoon. You don't use the butter knife to dig in the jam pot, because then you've got butter mixed in with the jam. The butter goes off and the jam goes mouldy. It was good. It was good fun. I liked all that. I like tradition. I like the old English tradition. Of course, most of it has gone now. Unfortunately, it's all gone. I don't mean washing the car on a Sunday. There was half-day closing on Wednesday. The shops all closed at 1 o'clock on a Wednesday. That was it. And everyone knew that. It was rather nice to have a half-day during the week so people could get a few jobs done at home, or in the summer do a bit of gardening. You know, you're home at 1:30, 2 o'clock. You got the whole afternoon. Just a bit of a break in the week. These days, nowhere's closed, is it? Pubs are open all day long. Some supermarkets are open all night. Also at the weekends, families would, in the summer, they'd go down to the beach or out for a picnic. I don't think that happens anymore. I know people go to the beach. Oh, I saw a picture of Brighton Beach the other day, a little video on the telly, when it was a nice day. The day we had summer. Do you remember about a week ago we had summer? It's gone now, of course. It's autumn. And the beach was absolutely jam-packed with people. Deck chairs, kids, buckets and spades. There was no more than like a yard or two, if that, between each person. Densely populated. I can't stand all that. I like a little bit of space around me. I don't think I'll be popping over to the village today. It's lashing with rain now. There's always tomorrow. Where are we? What's today? I don't know. Thursday, I think. So I've got tomorrow and Saturday to pop over there. Will be interesting to have a look round the village. I don't believe this weather. There's now sunshine and the forecast is good. What's happening? It really is difficult to keep up with the weather. We've had lashing rain and now sunshine and a gentle breeze from the west. Crazy, you just don't know what to do. You can't plan anything. If you're going out anywhere, do you take an umbrella, a coat, hat and scarf, or just shorts and t-shirt? It really is difficult to work out what to do. I heard on the radio, just out of interest, that tool theft, where people nick tools from people's work vans, it's gone up over the past 5 years by 150%. Apparently there's a massive trade in stolen power tools and various other tools. But of course the trouble is these people need them for their work. You go to your van in the morning, you've got your jobs lined up for the day and you find all your tools have been stolen. You can't work. It's awful, isn't it? And it's, what was it? I said 150% increase in tool thefts over the past 5 years. I don't know what's happening. It's just dreadful. Thinking back to the early days, I suppose people didn't have power tools. You might have an electric drill. I remember my granddad in his garage, he had a Wolf electric drill in the 50s. And that was the only power tool. He didn't have all this other stuff. Electric this, electric that. You wanted to cut the hedge, you had to use shears. No electric hedge trimmer. You wanted to saw wood, well, you had a hand saw. You just didn't have all the power tools back then. And they're not cheap, of course, are they? They were saying that they want, is it government legislation or something, to stop the sale of second-hand tools at car boot sales. For those of you outside Britain, car boot sales are basically, what is it? It's a field, a farmer's field or wherever it is, a bit of land somewhere. People all turn up in their cars, they set up tables and they sell junk. Well, it's not all junk. They're quite good. We used to have one here, a local one. It was good every Sunday. Loads of stalls there with people selling, well, you name it, they sold it. And it closed down in the end. It's such a shame. It was a really good car boot sale. There is another one a bit further away, but I don't know, it's too far away really. And it's different. It's not, I don't know what it is quite. It's more sort of man stuff like tools and bits of engines. Am I allowed to say man stuff? Sorry, people's stuff, not just men. Women can buy bits of engines and old carburettors as well if they want. Must be politically incorrect. Dear, I mustn't swear either, my foot. So they want to try to get people to stop selling second-hand tools at car boot sales. But the thing is, you can sell them on eBay, you can sell them anywhere. So I don't think that banning them from car boot sales will really make a lot of difference, will it? Just going back to Sundays when the pubs opened at lunchtime from 12 till 2 in the afternoon. They then opened again at 6 in the evening and closed at 10:30. During the week they closed at 11, but on a Sunday it was only 6 till 10:30. Whereas, as I said before, now they're just open, well, some of them seem to be open 24 hours a day. No, I'm sure they're not, but some of them are open from early morning till late at night. Of course, when this all-day opening came along, people on the telly and radio, they were saying, oh, everyone's going to be drunk, we'll all be alcoholics. People will be drinking all day and they'll fall over in the streets. That didn't happen at all. Other people said, you're on the other side of the argument, well, look at France, Spain, Portugal. You can buy alcohol any time of the day. They don't have special opening times and there aren't people all falling over each other drunk in the streets and all alcoholic there. So anyway, they were proved wrong. It's worked out all right if you want to go into, is it Wetherspoons? If you want to go into Wetherspoons for breakfast at 8 in the morning. I'm not sure about 8 in the morning, but you can also buy a pint of beer. Is that right, 8 in the morning? I'll have to check that. Where's my book of things to look up? Oh, I'm on volume 6 now, aren't I? Who on earth would want a pint of beer at 8 o'clock in the morning? When we used to go abroad on holidays, we'd get to Gatwick Airport at, say, 5 or 6 in the morning, if it's an early flight, and there are people drinking beer. I don't know how they do that, drinking beer before they go on their flight at 6 in the morning. That's disgusting. I don't think they should, well, I won't go into that, bit controversial, but I don't think they should sell alcohol on planes. Why do people have to drink on a plane? If you're going from here down to Spain, it's only, 2.5 hours? You don't need a drink, surely. You go without a drink till you get there at least. I don't know why they have to sell alcohol on planes. It does seem to cause trouble. Not everyone, of course. It's only 1 or 2 rotten apples in the barrel, isn't it? That's an old saying. Wonder where that comes from. Probably back in 1600 and something. We went for a drive in the car the other day And I noticed along the roads there's litter everywhere. Have you noticed that? Is that the same in your country, America, Australia? In Britain, we seem to be litter louts now. People just chuck litter everywhere. And we went up to, where was it, Haywards Heath. We went on the motorway for a little bit, and right the way along the side of the motorway, it looks like it's just covered in litter. You name it, it's there. People just chuck everything out of the car window. That didn't used to happen in the past. People don't care anymore, do they? I'm sure the majority do, but there's so many people now that just don't seem to care. They finish with a can of drink or something and just chuck the can down on the path or chuck it out of the car window. I don't understand that. They don't seem to have any pride in their country or their local area. If I see a can or something out in the street, I'll put it in the bin. I don't just leave it there or kick it down the road, as I saw some lads doing the other day. They came across the can, not in our road, and they just kicked it down the road and left it. It's all very strange, isn't it, how things have changed. I think it's pride that's gone, isn't it? Pride in your country, pride in your local area, pride in your street. In the old days, you'd keep your own street tidy, even though there were road sweepers. Mind you, don't see them anymore. Road sweepers have gone. So now it really is up to the residents in the street, the locals, to keep it clean themselves, which isn't a great deal of effort, is it? Just to pick up some rubbish that you might find in the street. It's not exactly hard work or rocket science. It's just taking a little bit of pride in your local community. But people don't seem to bother anymore, so there we are. What can I do about it? We've got the music quiz tonight at our local club, which will be good. Looking forward to that. Oh, someone recently said, were there music quizzes in the old days? I don't think pub quizzes, didn't I talk about this a little while ago? I don't think pub quizzes came in until kind of 70s. I don't remember quizzes in the 60s. They might have happened. Perhaps I just wasn't in the right pub at the right time back in the 60s. Pubs again. It's all pubs, isn't it? But it was the centre of the community. I won't go into all that again, but pubs were like the village hall. People met in the village hall. They'd have a jumble sale in the village hall. They'd have meetings in the village hall. The parish council would meet in the village hall. It really was a hall for the village people, and whatever they wanted to do, they would do it there. And the same with the pub. It was a social meeting place. Talking of the village hall, are you ready for me to visit my village? What I might do is, I'm always bagging on about people that can't drive on the road. They pull out in front of you and they do weird things. They indicate left when they're going right, or they don't indicate at all. So you haven't got a clue where they're going. Mind you, they probably haven't got a clue where they're going either. What I might do is put my little microphone on when I'm driving to the village, and I can I shall tell you about the idiots I encounter on the roads. I know what'll happen. Everyone will be driving perfectly now. I'll be waiting for people to make mistakes and do daft things so I can tell you about it live as it happens. Well, live on my recorder. Nothing will happen, I'm sure. I'll do that anyway. We'll see how many idiots I come across. Normally, I count them. Trish and I will count them before we get to the end of our road, or as soon as we get out of our road, we encounter idiot number one. We've only gone a few hundred yards. Oh, idiot number two, there's another one, look. So we'll see how it goes when I drive to the village. Oh, the kitchen's finished, by the way. That's all finished now, up and running again. Looking very nice. I'm pleased with that. I was putting all the decorating stuff away, and Trish said, why are you putting it all away? You haven't finished. And I said, I've finished. Look, the kitchen's done. No. You're doing the utility room next. What? We've got this little utility room where there's the bread maker. Oh, that reminds me, I was going to check the bread. That'll be ready by now. The bread maker, washing machine, tumble dryer, ice maker, or you name it, it's out there. And she wants that decorated next. I thought I'd finished. I better go and check the bread. The bread was fine. I was in time for that. If you leave it too long in the machine, it's all right for an hour or so, but it goes funny. It starts sweating and doing weird things. So that's okay. Right. I did try when we went to the village. I'm back now from the village, just got back half an hour ago. I tried a recording in the car. Would you believe it? Nothing happened. So there's nothing to play you. I was hoping that people were going to indicate left and turn right and all this business. Nothing happened. So I had the recorder going all the way to the village and back again. Nothing to report, it's hardly worth playing you any of that. Just a quick look around the village. There's a lot more of it, but I couldn't cover it all because it would take a long time. So this is Trisha and me just having a little look round the village hall and various other places. Well, there's the village hall. That hasn't changed at all. No, in fact, nothing's changed, has it, really? You can...
The amount of cars parked.
Yeah. Now there's a kebab place, a sandwich bar. Let's go look at the village hall, shall we?
Yeah.
That's where they used to have the meetings. When I was a parish councillor, used to have meetings in there. What's on the notice board? A quiz.
And a Bob Marley tribute.
A Bob Marley tribute, right?
Stretch and mobility classes.
Yeah. It's nice having a village hall.
Oh, look, this is
All the things.
regular things that go on.
There was a, oh, it's still there, a nice fish and chip shop. That's still there. Yeah, I remember the butchers being there. And of course the crossing gate, that little house, little cottage,
Yeah.
was the signalman's house. Someone's not answering the phone.
Well, he's busy serving.
There was a signal box there, and the man lived in the cottage, which was the railway cottage. Sandwiches and rolls. Nothing much has changed, really. I suppose it wouldn't, would it? What's this? I don't know what that is.
It's where carers are based. Care and care homes, nurses, sort of agency nurses.
The chemist, that was there. And here's the chip shop. I used to pop in here sometimes, which was good. The news agents has gone.
Well, it's a convenience store now down there.
Yeah. See that bench,
Yeah.
that seat? There was a whole parish council meeting about that. It's on the grass,
Yeah.
and in front of it, where your feet go, it was grass.
Yeah.
Well, there's a whole meeting. Shall we move it so it's nearer the path? And shall we do this and shall we do that? And I said, well, all we got to do is put a couple of paving slabs down. And it's right. See, there we are. That's my idea.
Well done.
And look at that. Look. Someone's left a Coke can on it. An old tissue, rubbish everywhere.
Oh, commemorative area for the Queen.
That was a train, if anyone's wondering. There's the railwayman's cottage.
Yeah.
And the signal box was just between that and the railway line.
Yeah.
Just have a little look. I don't suppose the railway own it now.
I think that was sold off long since.
But there's the pub
Yeah.
over there. Got to have a village pub. And of course, the village is surrounded by fields. It's not part of the town.
There's the parish councillor.
Oh, what's all this? Reporting crime and antisocial behaviour. Oh, look, a vacancy for one councillor. The parish council.
It says, join us for a fly around ferrying from the late 1920s to the present day at 7:30 in the village hall. But look, there's the picture of it as it was in the 20s
Oh,
and
yes.
how it is now.
Yeah, tennis courts. Oh, there's a horse place, isn't there? Another train. Trains don't sound like trains anymore. It's just noise.
There's the ferrying centre where with all the animals and that, which it will for the special people, with Downs and various people with learning difficulties, by people with learning difficulties.
I knew the chap that ran that. And there's this little school down there, which is nice.
Yeah.
And the church is down there. That's nice.
Well, that's where my cousin's buried.
That's right. Yeah. That church was. They did a lot, like fetes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
All village stuff, which I like. Don't like the town. Don't like cities. Actually, the village would be nice with no people.
I was going to say, you just don't like
Don't like
village,
people. Don't like anything.
No, this is true.
So that's just a quick look round. There's the park over there, recreation ground. There's someone in a shop shouting. They should ban loud people from villages.
Oh, shall I go home then?
Oh, traffic's building up, isn't it?
Yeah. What's the gate there?
Well, the gates have been closed for 2 trains.
You get across whilst no one's going anywhere.
Probably waiting for another 5 trains. Heading back to the car now, so I shall switch off. Just a quick tour around the village. Well, part of the village anyway. There used to be a village policeman who would cycle round on his bicycle. He'd often pass, if I was out in the front garden, and he'd say, afternoon, morning, whatever. Everything okay? And I'd say, yes, fine, thanks. How are you? Yeah, I'm fine. Sometimes he'd stop and have a chat. Very little vandalism and stuff like that back then. There was the notice there, wasn't there, reporting crime and things. There was no crime. Of course, they did away with the policeman. Well, they didn't do away with the policeman. They didn't kill him. They did away with his job. The little police house disappeared. That was sold off. I don't suppose there's a policeman within a mile of the village now, which is a shame. Most of the roads were unadopted. What that means is they're not looked after by any highway place or council, county council, local council, anything. So there were no lampposts, no street lighting. If there were potholes, it was up to the residents. There weren't potholes as such back then. You might get a little hole in a road somewhere, which someone would just fill in. I remember filling in 1 or 2 in our road. Of course, with no street lamps, a lot of people outside the village said, oh, it must be awful at night, pitch dark, how do you see where you're going? But people used to put their own lamps in. They'd buy perhaps an old antique type lamp standard or a modern one that looks old, and they'd stick it in their front garden, near the pavement, near the road. So there was plenty of lighting around. I think just about every house, every bungalow had lights somewhere outside the front. So it wasn't pitch dark. It was rather nice because all the lights were different. I mean, these days they're all, what are they, horrible cold white or bright orange, those sodium lamps. They were all different types of lamps, different. It was really nice. There would be a summer fete and things like that on the village green, which often the church or the parish council people organised. And of course, many people knew each other. It's not actually a small village, it is quite large. I think the population, where did I read somewhere, 4,800. So quite a lot of people, it's not just a row of cottages with kind of 10 people living there. Not a village like that. Quite a large village, but as I've said, surrounded by fields. Builders have been trying to get permission to build on those fields. They are agricultural, so they've never got planning permission to build anything there, which is good really because it will then join the village to the town or the outskirts of the town. And as I've said before, the village will be just swallowed up by concrete, by the big monster town coming along and eating it all up. Village life suited me very much. Doesn't suit everyone, I know. Friends of ours love the city. They love going to London. They love going to Brighton. They're always off to a city or a large town, out for pub lunch and all this sort of thing. Pubs in the evenings in various places. Each to their own, that's what I say. Some people like that, others don't. To be honest, Trish and I, we do go out, obviously. We go out for meals now and then and we go to places. We've just spent the week at Butlins. We often go to the Isle of Wight at least twice a year. So we do get out and about. But we've got so much to do at home. I've got my amateur radio hobby. I've got the podcast episodes to record, which I love doing. I love talking to you all, as you know. Ray's Rants at protonmail.com, by the way. I'd love to hear from you. I've got the garden. We both like the garden. We do a lot out there, sort of pottering about, in the sunshine. Well, I say in the sunshine, when the sun's out, that is. We've got Gary the tortoise to look after. I spent several days doing up the kitchen, painting the ceiling and the walls and all sorts of things out there. We don't have the time to keep going out. My sister-in-law messaged this morning, we're going to Amberley Museum for a wander around and have lunch there. Would you like to join us? We can't. We've got a birthday party for my mother-in-law. She's how old is she? 80 something. We've got to get ready for that. I've still got decorating stuff to clear up that I've left around the house downstairs. Trisha's got a lot of cooking to do for the party tomorrow. We've got, I think, not everyone can make it, 16 people turning up tomorrow lunchtime. So there is a lot of preparation. I would like to have gone to Amberley. I think it's a 1980s something or other that they're putting on there. I'm not sure what it's about. When we got the message this morning on WhatsApp, we got the family group, we thought it would be nice to go, but we just can't fit that in because it's not just an hour or so, is it? If you're going somewhere like that, it's half the morning and then lunch and then half the afternoon. And before you know it, the day's gone. We went to our club quiz, music quiz, and we came second, so that was good. I got one question right. They played a bit of a song. What's this? Who did it? And what's it called? I knew it. Enigma. Return to Innocence. I rather like that. That's my favourite Enigma song. Return to Innocence. And the rest of our little group were amazed. They all looked at it. Wow, Ray's got a question right. He's actually answered it correctly. That was the only one out of dozens of questions. I just don't know. I can't remember who did what in the 60s. Who sang this song? I don't know. I know the song, but I don't know who did it. I can't remember. Was it Herman's Hermits? Dave Clark 5? The Herd? The Animals? There were so many bands or groups back then, as we used to call them. I don't know who did what. Of course, it wasn't only 60s. It's all eras, decades and whatever, stuff in the 2020s. I don't know any of it. I do know some of it. In fact, Trish looked at me. She said, this is a song you're always playing. You love it. Who sang it? I don't know. I am always playing it. I can't remember who it was. I forget what song it was now. And would you believe we're going back to the club tonight? There's a live band that Trish and her sister like, so I've got to endure that. Endure. I shouldn't say that, should I? I was talking to our friend Dave, who came along with us, and he said, why is it that wherever I go where they're playing music, it's too loud, you can't have a chat, you can't have a conversation? This is what I have been saying for years. You can't sit there and have a nice chat. My sister-in-law was saying something to me. I couldn't hear what she was saying. I had to keep saying, sorry, what was that? I don't know why everything has to be so loud. Dave said, I can't hear myself think. That's a funny expression, isn't it? Can't hear yourself think. Well, you can't hear yourself thinking anyway, can you? I don't know why everything has to be so loud. And the problem is, as Dave pointed out, because the music's loud, people have to talk loudly. Is it loudly, isn't it? Got to get my grammar right. People have to speak up and they tend to shout. And the louder the people get, the more the music is turned up. And in the end, you can't hear the music because people are shouting. You can't hear the shouting because, anyway, I've got to endure that tonight. But I'm glad it wasn't just me moaning about the music being loud. Tricia, actually, in her handbag, she took earplugs for me. She knows that I'm going to start moaning. So she takes earplugs along for me, which I do use sometimes. The trouble is then I can't hear what anyone's saying. I don't know. I don't know why I go. I spoke to my mum this morning and I said, we've got to go there tonight. And she said, well, if you hate it all so much, why do you go? That's a good question, actually. I go because Tricia goes. Her sister and her husband go. Our little group, there's Dave. Number one daughter, she's started coming along to the music quiz every time. They all know I'm a miserable devil. And that would just prove the point if I sat at home while they all went to the club. Just going back to the village again, there's a lovely park. Well, there are 2 or 3 nice parks. There's the big sort of village green, the recreation ground. Then there's another park and another sort of green area. There are a lot of places there where you can just go and escape. Not too far from the sea. You can walk down to the beach if you're that way inclined, which I'm not. There was talk at one stage of putting a railway station there. The local estate agent chap that I knew, he said if they put a railway station here, the price of your property will double. And I thought, yes, that's all very well, great, terrific. But then we've got the railway station, then it's all going to start getting busy, isn't it? Commuters would move into the village, people that work in London all day. If the London train stops there, they're all going to move into the village, and I didn't want that. It's not always about money, is it? He was right, though. The property prices probably would have doubled if they'd had a railway station there, because the nearest station, well, there isn't one. The nearest station's miles away. Just had a news flash come up on my watch, BBC News. Whooping cough, summer COVID and hay fever. This is on the BBC. They explain why you might be feeling grotty all the time. I don't know, I don't feel grotty all the time. COVID, it's still around, isn't it? Hay fever is bad. And whooping cough, I had that when I was, about 5 or 6 years old. I remember that. Whooping cough, it was dreadful. Of course, back then, kids did have all that sort of stuff. Whooping cough, measles, German measles, was it? All these dreadful things that actually kill people. Measles can kill people. And we all had that. Chicken pox, you name it, we had it. In fact, parents, if your child didn't have chicken pox, and your friend did, they take you round there so you'd get it. You'd be dumped round this place. Go and play with him. I'll come back and pick you up in a few hours once you've caught chicken pox. That happened, seriously. People made sure that their kids did get chicken pox. I don't think you can get it again. I've had it once. Doesn't it turn into, what's the other thing, scabies or something? I don't know what it is, something dreadful. But I did have chicken pox back then. I had measles, I had mumps. I remember mumps, that was horrible. I had rheumatic fever. There was a time when the doctor came to see me and he thought it was diphtheria. I don't think it was. He gave me some injection in my rear end and off he went. I don't think it was diphtheria. There was all sorts around then, wasn't there? Smallpox and glandular fever. I had that as well. Lots of dreadful things around, which fortunately these days have not been completely eradicated, but nothing like it used to be. Just a silly little snippet of information. The cost of a bar of dairy milk chocolate, I think that's Cadbury's, has gone up by 12% in the last 4 weeks. In a month. Gone up by 12%. They reckon it's the cost of chocolate, sugar, all the ingredients, milk, everything's going up in price, isn't it? I don't eat chocolate, or very rarely anyway. There's also this other thing called shrinkflation, isn't there? Where they don't put the price of something up, say a bar of chocolate, they don't put the price up, they make the bar of chocolate smaller. They were talking about that on the telly the other day, and this chap was saying, I remember when I was a kid, when I was a boy, Mars bars or whatever it was he was talking about, they were this big, now they're this big. They've shrunk. Shrinkflation, that'll be in the Oxford Dictionary before long. There are quite a few new words added every year, aren't there, to the dictionary. Talking of loud music in pubs, the other thing these days that they have is the sport. If there's a football match on, an important match, it's on the big screen tellies in the pubs. And you can't escape that. There are people watching it and they're shouting and the TV is loud. It's just difficult to... I don't think there is a pub, not that I know, where you can just go and enjoy a little bit of background music and have a conversation with a few friends. You can't, because you can't hear yourself think, as Dave said. We don't go up to the club when there's a football match on because they have the big screen tellies there and people all watching the match. Which is fair enough, a lot of people do like the football, I don't. So just don't go when the football's on. One thing that has changed in the village over the past 40 years is parking. There's nowhere to park. We had to park quite a way away from the little sort of shopping part in the centre of the village. There's just nowhere to park. There's no parking signs everywhere and too many cars. As usual, too many cars everywhere, too many people. I don't mind walking. Trish and I don't mind walking. We'll walk a quarter of a mile. If we want to go somewhere and there's no parking, we'll park a quarter of a mile away. It doesn't matter. Half a mile even. It doesn't matter. We've got legs and feet. Unlike some people, if they can't park right outside the entrance to where they're going, then they won't bother to go. Or they will go, but they'll park illegally somewhere because they can't be bothered to walk. I think that's half the trouble these days. People can't be bothered to walk anywhere. So a lot of them park illegally. They park not on the junction, but actually on the corner of a junction, 45 degrees sort of on the corner. You're not meant to do that, but police don't seem to care anymore. So I don't know. People can do what they like. So how have you been for this past week? Have you anything exciting to tell me? Raise rants at protonmail.com. What have you been up to? Be nice to hear from you. Don't forget to look at the website, raiserants.info. I haven't got any photos of the village. I should have taken some photos. I might go out there again at some time because there's another pub further south from where we were, which is rather nice. I've been there a few times over the years. And there are some lovely houses, some very nice, big, expensive houses down the southern end of the village. Really nice down there. Maybe next time I'm out that way I'll take a few photos. I'm going to disappear now. I've got a few things to do in the garden while the sun is shining. Got to cut the fig tree back a bit. I'm trying to stop it from growing to kind of 50 feet high. Try to keep it to about 10 feet. There's a fig tree down the road and it is massive. It's a tree. And once, of course, it gets to that sort of size, there's no dealing with it, no cutting it back. Well, not unless you get people in. I can't climb up trees with a chainsaw. Thanks for listening. It's been great talking to you as always. I really look forward to making the podcast episodes, especially the Sunday one. A little bit short, only 3/4 of an hour, but the sun, the garden is calling me. Be good. If you're bad, don't get caught. Don't forget to email me if you've anything to say, or even if you've nothing to say. I shall see you on Wednesday with the midweek message. I think summer may have arrived where we are. I'm not too sure. Don't hold your breath. Take care. Bye-bye for now.